The Shadow Systems MR920. Let's check it out. Glocks were introduced in the 1980s, and they quickly became very popular with law enforcement and civilians. One of the big reasons is it's so lightweight because of the polymer frame, and it's really reliable. In fact, I call this the AK-47 of the handgun world. You know, the Glocks can just take whatever you dish out. But one of the big things about Glock that's really appealing to me is that it's very simple. There are a few parts, and so you can change all the parts. I've taken Glocks all the way down, every part, and it's fairly easy to reassemble. And if you need to replace parts or you want to upgrade parts, you can do that. And so a huge aftermarket support came through and produced all kind of aftermarket accessories to make Glock perfection even more perfect. So when the Gen 3 patents expired, a lot of companies picked up the mantle and started making a number of different Glock clones. And there's a lot of great firearms out there. But today we're going to be taking a look at the Shadow Systems MR920. Now this is actually based closer to the Gen 4, and we'll talk about that. So this really makes it somewhat unique in that regard by itself. But Shadow Systems is based out of Plano, Texas, and they produce all the parts right there, even the injected molded polymer frames. And that's really unusual for a lot of the companies that are out there making these Glock-inspired pistols. But I have heard so much about the Shadow Systems, I was really interested to take a look at one. And so one of my good friends and Patreon member, John, got in touch. He had one. He said, "Don, I want you to check it out." And so we're going to take a good look at the Shadow Systems MR920 and why you would choose this over not only all the other clones, but even possibly a regular Glock pistol. Now Shadow Systems started out in 2016. They're based out of Plano, Texas. They make all of their parts, including the injected molding for their frames. That's one of the things about some companies, and I'm not speaking to all, but a lot of companies do have parts and accessories that are made outside and they're just assembling them. And so I thought it was very refreshing to see a company that is putting together these really nice firearms, and it's all based on US made products. So first thing let's do is drop our magazine, and it comes with a Magpul PMag for Glock. And then we'll check the chamber, and it's empty. Now, one thing on this firearm that is not made in the USA is this Holosun 508T. Excellent optic, by the way, and very reasonably priced compared to some others. But the Holosun optic really goes well on here. Now, one of the beautiful things about the Shadow Systems is that the RMR or whatever sight you're using, the red dot sight, fits down into the slide. But Shadow Systems went and they have all the different holes to be able to fit most of your major optics. And so that way it's a patent pending design, and you can put about any optic on here without having any kind of adapter or any kind of plate, and you can just mount it. The beautiful thing about that is it aligns your sights to be co-witnessed. And here of course we have some suppressor height sights, but it really gives you that low bore axis and allows you to use your sights. And so this in itself is really a great innovation, and Shadow Systems has really done a great job with that, and it mates back to the rear of the slide and to the front of the slide here to be able to give you a good secure fit. One thing about the polymer frame, it's very well designed. And I love the stippling. It's not too harsh, but yet it's very aggressive. So it gives you a good feel to it. It does have a removable mag well here at the bottom. And so if you have larger hands, it may be a little uncomfortable, but for me, it gives me a really solid grip. And I feel like there's a foundation down here on the mag well. And yet, it's not too obtrusive. Some mag wells just kind of extend out, and it makes it a little bit, you know, just big. It makes it a big gun. And for this type firearm, this is made for concealed carry. And it's in the Glock 19 style. Which brings us to the original Glock. And the Gen 4 is, again, what the Shadow Systems is based on. It's that operating system. Now, this is actually a Model 32, which is in 357 SIG, but it's the exact same dimensions as your Model 19. All the parts that are in this gun are compatible with the parts in your Shadow Systems pistol. The MR920 is the compact version and based on the Glock 19. And you can see, I mean, they're the same size, they have the same mag capacity. Definitely a thinner grip without finger grooves. And where you have this Glock hump right here, this comes, again, straight down like your 1911. And so it gives you more of a natural grip angle. And so if you like the finger grooves, if you like the Glock hump, you know, then by all means. You know, I've shot these for years, and I'm very accustomed to Glocks. But this optimizes the grip, which I like. And honestly, a lot of the pistols that are coming out right now are Gen 3 compatible because the Gen 3 patents have expired. And so you're seeing more Gen 3s, but this is, again, an upgrade over the Gen 3 to the Gen 4. Now, it also has the 1911 type grip angle. It's not quite a 1911, but it's really close. And so that's going to give you a more natural point of aim. It doesn't have the Glock hump. You know, you have your front strap, you have your back strap. It is removable. You can put a different back strap here. The trigger guard is more rounded off. Even though it's a square trigger guard, it's more rounded off here than the Glock that has the little bit of a nub that comes here. We have an undercut, and then we have an undercut here, which I'm a big fan of, because if you shoot a lot of standard Glocks, you will get Glock knuckle, which I've done. In fact, I think I still have a little bit of a callus right here from my last foray with a lot of rounds in my Glock 19. One thing I really like, though, about this frame, and it has this pad, and it's on either side, and it's great for a memory pad to put your finger to keep it out of the trigger. It's also a great pad to bring your thumb and to rest it against the frame. But with the Shadow Systems, it has a small little ledge. So it actually gives you a little bit of leverage right there on the frame when you're firing the firearm. And to me, that is a big plus. Another thing about this area right here that comes down is if you're running a red dot, the pinky press is important. And that gives you that pinky press ledge. So I'm able to bring it and then squeeze, and it brings the red dot in line with the pistol. So the frame itself, I really like the frame. I like this beaver tail that comes out, and yet, again, it's not too big. It just nestles right here, and it gives it a very low bore axis. Now, one thing about having that sight nestled into the slide is that it allows you to co-witness with your sights. Now, these sights are a little bit larger. They're a little bit more of the suppressor height sights, but, you know, they're not quite as large as some I've seen. And so it gives you that co-witness, and then, of course, you can see the dot right there. And it's not coming into focus, but that's because of the camera. But the 508T is great, and it has this solar panel, which actually allows the dot to really get bright in bright sunlight, and then it'll dim down. And then, of course, you have control panels. We have a 4-inch or 4.1-inch barrel, which is standard for your Glock 19. Now, it has the bronze, titanium, carbon, nitride finish, which is really durable. You can also get this in black as well if you don't like this. Now, this is the Elite version. And the Elite version does have the cuts here, and it offers a few things, but the standard version is pretty much the same pistol. It just has a few extra amenities to it, and if you like that, you know, it's great. I mean, I think the bronze really looks good on here. I typically like black pistols, but I think that it really sets it off. Now, the serrations are directional, and that means that they're the direction that you're pulling the slide. And so it gives you a very natural pull back. And then, of course, we have front cocking serrations where we can check for press checks. Also, right here at the top, you have these cuts all the way across. And this is just more for stylized. But, you know, in the standard version, I don't think it has these cuts. So it's just another feature for the Elite. The sights are a blacked out rear serrated sight, And then the front is actually a night vision tritium sight. I'm a big fan of night vision. They're the company that actually makes the tritium inserts for the U.S. military for their compasses. It's a very nice mag release. It's a step design, and it makes it really easy just to pop those magazines out. And again, even with the mag well in here, it's really easy to insert the mags and to seat the mags. Sometimes there are some mag wells that bind up on the base, so you want to check that with whatever mag you're using. Now again, this does come with a PMag, and PMags are fine, but for me personally, I stick with the Glock factory mags. That's just my preference. It's something that, you know, I've been doing. I've had some good success with the PMags, but yet then again, I have had a couple of issues. So I stick with the Glock factory mags. It does retain the same Picatinny rail system. It's that one slot which Glock uses. You know, your slide stop right here. It does have a guard around the slide stop, and so it's going to keep you from inadvertently hitting it. But one thing about the Glock slide stops is they typically are small enough to where you don't hit them. It does feature a flat face trigger with the small little trigger shoe. And this is a very nice trigger. And you know, that's one of the safeties. There's no frame safety, just like on the Glock, but this is your safety. But there's also a striker safety included, and it's drop safe. With that small safety, it cannot engage the trigger unless you have a full grip on the trigger itself. And so we're going to bring it back, just a little bit of take up right here, a little stacking, and then a nice break. And it is a crisp, clean break, even though there is a little stacking beforehand. And then we have our reset right there. Let's check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge and Brownells. 4 pounds. 4 pounds, 2.5 ounces. Now the barrel is fluted. It's a beautiful spiral fluting that goes in there, which again is part of the design and something that a lot of people really like when they like to trick out their Glocks. And then here, a lot of these features are already taken into consideration. The slide is a 17-4 stainless steel, and the barrel is a 416R stainless steel. So it's going to give you good corrosion resistance. It has a black nitride finish on it, and I like the minimal lettering right here and the logo on the pistol. So it doesn't have a lot, and with all the serrations and everything, it's probably difficult to do too much. We also have the Shadow Systems logo here on the frame. Now one thing that Shadow Systems kind of came over a little heat for is saying that you need a 200 round break-in period. One of the things that they explained is that because of the tight tolerances, and they are tight, I mean the barrel fits really close into the slide. With that and with machining and processing, sometimes, you know, there can be a little bit of overfitting. It can be a little close, and so getting those 200 rounds through your pistol just allow for it to work itself through. But let me just say this, if you have a new pistol, you need to put 200 rounds through it before you carry it. I don't care what kind of pistol you have, because you want to make sure that it is reliable if you're going to carry it for self-defense. We really appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammo, all made in the USA, one of the largest suppliers of ammunition in the country. We're also using one of the G-code bang boxes, and this is a great way to dump your ammo in. Makes loading a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. And the little loaders, they're with us at every range trip. Makes it really easy. Well, taking it down to the range, I mean, all the controls are Glock, they're very familiar, but that grip angle is definitely different. It's advantageous to getting back on that sight really fast. With the Holosun 508T, you know, it just has that really large reticle. You can dial it down to the single reticle, but it just really allows you to get on target really quickly. It allows you to see it very fast, and getting that pinky pinch right there at the grip allows you just to line those sights up. The texturing on the grip is really good. I mean, it's, again, not too aggressive, but you really feel like you've got the gun in your hand when you're shooting. And really, even for wet conditions or muddy or dirty or even bloody conditions, this would be a good grip to hang on to. The ledge right here, this ledge really makes a difference. Very flat shooting. It allows you to control the handgun. And that's what you're doing. I mean, this is an explosion that's going on in your hand to pop that slide back and to rack another round in. And so being able to control it, not only with a good firm grip, and to be able to leverage that grip, but also being able to use that thumb, it just gives you an added advantage. And I really like that. It doesn't stick out hardly at all. In fact, you don't even notice it unless you get your finger right up there and you can feel that little ledge. It doesn't take a lot. The beaver tail allows you to get that really high ride on the pistol. Also with the Holosun, I shut it off at one point and just used my sights. In fact, for the accuracy portion, I just used the iron sights. It co-witnessed very nice. I could see them very easily, and so it gives you that backup, which is really nice. And I like it that sight fits way down into the slide. It allows you to really get a little bit closer in when you're firing the firearm. But overall, I mean, the recoil was very mild. I think a lot of it had to do with holding on to this, but I think it was just mild overall compared to even a Glock. We did have one malfunction. And I don't know if it just had a light primer strike or what, but we just didn't quite ignite the round, and it was only that one round. We shot 500 rounds and we didn't have any other issues. And that was pretty early on. And this gun is brand new, it just came out of the box. I chalk that up to just being brand new. But other than that, we didn't have any other malfunctions. Now for disassembly, drop your magazine, check to make sure the gun is unloaded. First thing you do is pull the trigger, pull back on your slide about 1/8 of an inch, and pull down on your takedown tabs. Now one thing I noticed is sometimes it'll re-engage the striker, so if you just hit it, it'll come right off. And then we have our recoil spring and recoil guide rod, which is all steel. And then you have your cap at the end. It's one of the flat springs, so that typically aids in recoil. And then we have our barrel, which is 416R stainless, and then it has this titanium, copper, or bronze nitride finish on it. Beautiful barrel. I mean, the spiraling fluting is just gorgeous. And even the chamber itself, I mean, it has been very well executed. Comes to the slide, very nice, very well done, no tooling marks, it's not rough. Sometimes when you're buying aftermarket slides, they tend to have a little bit of an edge to them, a little bit, just they're not quite finished to me. And this is definitely a very well finished gun. The nose has been cut right here, so it just gives it a little bit less surface at the front. I really like this slide. And then we have our frame, which again is very Glock-esque, which all these parts will interchange. And so it makes it really easy to be able to do any kind of upgrades or repairs on these pistols. So that's pretty much it. We're going to just reinsert our barrel, recoil spring, and guide rod. And then bring it right back over your frame. Test for function, and we're good to go. But I'm going to bring in the Zev OZ9, and this is the compact version. It is a very well-made firearm, and Zev does an excellent job on their guns. But here you see there are some differences, but you know, the Zev is just a different type styling. And so it's just according to what you like. But you can see it does have different directional serrations here. We do have slide cuts. There's a lot of milling that's gone on in the top to make this really a beautiful firearm. And Zev does a great job. And we have a 3-slot Picatinny rail, and this is an aluminum insert that goes all the way down through the pistol. And so this has some different strength to it, which the Shadow Systems is more toward the Glock design. But it adds a lot of weight to that front end. But the weight on the front end actually helps with muzzle rise, but yet it gives it more weight as far as carrying it for a concealed carry piece. I've done a full review on this. I'll have it annotated for you to check out. But this is one of the other type pistols that's out on the market. Then we go to a totally different direction and we bring out the PSA Dagger. This is coming in at $299, which is a phenomenal price. But it does accept all the different Glock parts. It's a lot more ergonomic. It's the rounded off edges here. Just makes it a really sweet option for budget friendly. And yet the slide cuts and everything, I mean, it gives you the front and rear cocking serrations. It gives you cuts all along the slide. And it does come in an optics ready version, which I did pick up one at the gun show that was optics ready this past weekend. And we're getting ready to do a dagger review of some of the different options they're offering. But guys, so far this has been an incredibly reliable, great pistol. And for $299, you know, you can't beat the price. But when it comes into the shadow systems, you do have a lot more amenities that go with this pistol, and there's no doubt about it. So, you know, it's up to the individual. And just speaking of which, the price on the Elites are running about $900. If you take a standard Glock, they're running about $500 to $550. And then once you do all the slide cuts, the stippling, all the different undercuts on the gun, you do the mag well, you have the slide cuts on your slide. I mean, you're going to get to really this price. And so this is one that you can run right out of the box. That is been done at the factory. But then when you look at the combat model, which is the standard model without the slide cuts and a lot of the slide features, they run about $799. All right, the big question, why would you spend $800 to $900 on a Glock clone? You know, you have your standard Glock, traditional, it's been around, it's been proven. This again is the Gen 3. Guys, I mean, these are just solid firearms, and I'm a big fan of Glock. But a lot of guys want us to take it a step further. I mean, really, Glock has not changed a whole lot over the past few years. But really, I don't want Glock to change. I like Glock the way it is. But when I want to upgrade to something different, you know, there's a lot of features with these guns that a lot of people do to their standard Glock. One thing is, of course, is, you know, there's less slide mass. I mean, there's a lot of cuts. I mean, it's a beautiful slide. I mean, the gun itself is just gorgeous. Now, whether you get the bronze titanium finish or not, you know, you can get the black. But I really think that sets it off really well. And the slide cuts do lessen the mass of the slide. And so it gives you a little bit of a thinner profile. You have better texturing on the grip. No finger grooves, which I prefer. I don't really care for the finger grooves. It sets your hand in a certain place. You know, you have your undercut. You already have a flat face trigger. And these can be pretty expensive. Sight system is excellent with the night vision tritium at the front, and then the rear sight. It's just blacked out. But again, you can switch these out to Glock compatible sights. And then the optics ready. The fit to the slide barrel. Glocks are full production guns, and there's going to be a little bit of wobble right here just because they want these guns to be super reliable. And so you're going to get a little bit of a better barrel to slide lockup, which is going to give you typically more accuracy. It's going to give you potential for accuracy. Also, we do have a beaver tail. The grip angle is more toward the 1911, which is more of a natural grip angle. And the magwell, of course, you know, if you like that. And honestly, on this gun, I do like it. It's not large. It's more in line with the firearm. The trigger guard has been somewhat rounded off right here. From the typical Glock, you can see. And all of these things can be changed on the Glock, but it's just going to be expensive. I love this ledge. This is really effective, and when we were at the range, I would use that, and it did keep the gun shooting flat. It just gives you more leverage to the firearm, and also with this angle right here, it makes it more optimal for your red dot sights. And also with the patented system, where you can do multiple different type red dots. The different footprints that they already allow, it gets the sight really low. You don't have any kind of mount, any kind of spacer, and so it allows you to co-witness with your sights. So overall, I mean, there's a lot of great features with the Shadow Systems MR920. But let's just be honest, the Glock works, it functions, this is a great pistol, it will serve you well. But if you want to up your game, I think the Shadow Systems is really coming in and offering a really nice package. And guys, again, I have no connection with Shadow Systems. This was a loaner from my good friend John, who is a Patreon member, who let me borrow this. And I really appreciate him for doing that and giving me an experience with the Shadow Systems. I have been hearing a lot of good things about these pistols. So guys, in a sea of Glock-inspired pistols, I think that the Shadow Systems does stand out. And part of that is the Gen 4 operating system. Which just gives it some more advantages. And then when it comes to the Glock itself, if you're going to trick out your Glock, you can pull out something like this MR920 right out of the box. And man, it's beautiful. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Sootch00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Then we pull out our, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And that's one of the simplicities. In fact, law enforcement really embraced these guns because they were so freaking. Problem with your gun, you can fix it. And easy to strip down to the bare features that really bring this up to 2020 or 2022 or 2020, 5,000. And the age-old question, does it take Glock mags? Yes, it does.